Muragu means spear. Dina means feet. Muni, long
This
way.
is Michaela.
And
What you're listening
Nuralala,
to is a First Nations language that is spoken by fewer than 50 people. Nampa.
I've always been very in touch with my Aboriginal culture, and I've done a lot of things, but never specifically Nampa, so never specifically my mob.
Michaela went to school in Ulladulla and Canberra. But during school holidays, she'd travel about 1,000 k's to Menindee to visit her nan, Auntie Beryl Carmichael.
You know, I'd go out on country with my nan and she'd tell me all these stories, and you know, she'd tell us the dreamings and she'd sing us songs and all of that, but I never thought of it as something that I should be learning.
Her nan died last year and was one of the last people to grow up speaking Nampa. But since starting a school project in Year 12, Michaela has been helping to keep the language alive.
Right now I'm focusing on documenting everything from my nan and her memories as the last fluent speaker. And this is a book that she wrote in 1986. And most of the book is just her poetry and stories that she's written. But at the end, she's got a bunch of Nampa words that she's documented.
Nampa isn't the only First Nations language that is considered under threat. In fact, Australia has one of the highest rates of lost languages anywhere in the world. Throughout the country, there are more than 250 Indigenous languages, including 800 different dialects. But since colonisation, the number of people actually speaking those languages has dropped significantly. In 2016, just 120 different languages were actively spoken. A quarter of them were only spoken by elders. And just 12 are considered strong and spoken as a first language.
Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander languages are uniquely Australian cultural heritage. So there's something that all Australians should be immensely proud of, and that we all, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous, bear a responsibility to keep safe and strong for generations into the future.
Lauren Reid is the director of the Australian Institute of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies, or IATSIS. She says First Nations languages haven't necessarily been lost, but rather actively silenced.
Communities have and are still prevented from using their languages, whether through past racist policies like the Stolen Generation, or even current kind of issues of communities not being able to access interpreters easily, or being able to access materials that are translated into their languages so they can access government services just as easily as an English speaker would be.
But over the last few years, things have been changing.
Communities are working really hard to bring their languages back into daily use after generations of being silenced. And communities are doing this in a number of different ways.
While the 4th IATSIS National Indigenous Languages Survey is set to come out later this year, data suggests that the number of languages being reawakened is set to double from 31 in 2019 to more than 60 this year. That's languages that are actively being brought back by communities after a long period of having no speakers.
For some communities, they're working closely with their old people, getting them together to help them remember and recall language that they might have spoken or heard as children. In other cases, communities are coming to places like IATSIS and accessing archival language recordings that have been made of their languages, whether they're manuscript materials, old word lists, or maybe they're audio or even video recordings. And communities are working hard to put the language back together again from those language recordings in archives and institutes like IATSIS.
These days, the use of traditional place names is becoming more and more common. Schools and universities now offer First Nations language classes, and a lot of languages have online dictionaries. That's what Michaela is doing with Nampa, using her nan's legacy as a starting point.
It is very special for me, and I do feel like I'm keeping her alive, and she was one of the most important people in my life, and she still is. And I really look up to her, and I hope to have as much of an impact on community as she did.
A language in Indigenous Australia isn't just a way of speaking. Language and culture are completely interconnected, and country is also interconnected with language and culture as well. So when language is lost, culture can be really seriously impacted.
I've got so many cousins and so many relatives that are, you know, just as passionate as me and wanting to help me and support me and willing to share all their knowledge with me so that we can save this language, because Nana Beryl was all of our matriarch. She was like the soul of the family, and so we all do everything for her.